Republican Congressman and MAGA favorite Matt Gaetz battling allegations of sex trafficking and sex with a minor. He has denied it all. He's been fighting back in public, sometimes on friendly turf.
There is no 17-year-old that I had any sexual contact with as an adult man. Absolutely not. Does not exist. Did not happen. There are a ton of things in my life looking back that I wish I would have done differently, but none of them are criminal. None of this constitutes a crime.
Gaetz continued to make his own defense there on air in person. That was with Newsmax. Federal investigators will be the ultimate arbiter of whether there's enough to charge a crime. And if so, then, of course, everyone has a right to a jury trial. As we've emphasized, Gaetz hasn't been charged yet, and he denies all these allegations, although he's facing a lot of problems with his indicted ally. Now, the next part of his defense, as he does the airwaves, is he's just like Trump.
But they always come for the fighters, Grant. Donald Trump Jr., Rudy Giuliani, Steve Bannon, Matt Gaetz. It's never the meek that they come for. It's always those who are fighting hard for the America First agenda, and I've got a lot of fight left in me.
That's the public face he's putting on it, and Gaetz is certainly fighting. That's true, politically as well as in this type of legal adjacent defense. He brings the fight in public tomorrow because he's doing a tour of rallies with the QAnon Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene.
The America First movement isn't going anywhere. In fact, we're going on tour. And you know what, Grant? We're going to call out the establishment in both political parties. I'm so excited that on Friday, Marjorie Taylor Greene and I are hosting an America First rally.
Said rally will be at the Villages in Florida. This is the state, of course, where he's from and where his indicted ally Joel Greenberg is now in jail and discussing, reportedly, some type of cooperation. We mentioned that blockbuster Daily Beast report that alleges Greenberg wrote down his confession and said, quote, Rep. Gaetz paid for sex with multiple women as well as a girl who was 17 at the time. Since this story broke, NBC has not been able to obtain that letter, so we can't personally verify it through our reporting. Gaetz, again, denies all allegations and has not been charged at this time with any crime. I'm joined now by Bill Kristol, Director of Defending Democracy Together, Editor-at-Large of The Bulwark, and something of a modern self-taught student of the MAGA movement. Is that fair?
God, I guess I have to accept that. It's not really what I've ever wished to be my epithet, but go right ahead, Ari. Just call me that.
Well, it's
student of the MAGA.
It's where
that's going to be William Kristol, student of the MAGA movement. Oh my God.
Well, I hear you. It's part of where you ended up in this political era. It may not be everything you've ever done or will do, Bill, but I tee that up because this is quite a set of salacious stories. We've heard from victim advocates and attorneys and others with concern for what, at least according to the feds in the Greenberg case, are already some victims, as well as open questions, which can only be resolved through fact gathering and due process about what, if anything, Mr. Gaetz may have done, and I say that in all fairness and seriousness. The wider context that I want to ask you about right now is how someone in this much trouble, rather than laying back or laying low, is doubling down on this MAGA attack, not only on Democrats or liberals or whatever, but also, as you just heard him say there, the establishment of his own party, Bill.
He's taking a victory lap on Twitter today, an additional tweet relishing the fact that 3 months ago he went to Wyoming to attack Liz Cheney and say she shouldn't be House Republican chair. She survived that first assault in February, and now she may well lose next week. So he was ahead of the curve in attacking Liz Cheney, which is, when you think about it, really astounding, right? The Republican Party, the House Republican Conference, is now doing nothing to punish Matt Gaetz at this point, not even distancing themselves from him, not even criticizing him or being a little wary of him. But Liz Cheney is going to be probably deposed as Republican Conference number 3 next week. Why? For telling the truth. I mean, it's simple. For telling the truth and not bowing to Donald Trump. That's it, right? So that does to be a party that's pro Gaetz and anti Cheney. That's pretty astounding.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. I want to play a little bit more again from him speaking out, and I say this to viewers, but sometimes, Bill, I have to keep saying it so it may not sound true, but it is. It is unusual for people caught up in serious federal criminal probes to go do spontaneous, repeated TV interviews. I know we have Giuliani, now we have Gaetz, we have a couple exceptions, but this is highly unusual, even for politicians. But here's a little bit more from the Gaetz interview.
What you see from the government, I think, is really a politicization of the Department of Justice. And really that started under Barack Obama and Eric Holder, and then it continued over. I think there's a lot of swamp left to be drained at the Department of Justice.
Bill, it sounds almost lazy, but is this effective? Where does this fit into the problem facing at least part of the Republican Party?
I mean, I think I don't know that he's being foolish from his point of view. I mean, he's not giving any more information. So whether he can be indicted or not, and all the things his good friend were indicted for, and all the cash transactions, or I guess they're whatever they are, app transactions of cash to young women, and all that really unseemly and pretty disgusting stuff. Whether it's criminal, obviously, I don't know. But what he's doing now is attacking the prosecutors, right? That works politically often. We know that over the years, right? You discredit the prosecutors. Whether it would actually help at a trial, who knows? But it makes him a hero. He's persecuted. You know, he can't do much right now in terms of what the feds have, in terms of the actual evidence, in terms of criminality. But he can do a lot to help. I mean, being persecuted by the federal government, that's good for MAGA. I know, I'm not sure if he could, the best thing for him, if he could get to trial and get a hung jury, fantastic. He'll be a hero, you know? And so it tells you a lot about the movement, right? The victim is the self-understanding of the movement as being victims of the deep state, victims of the Biden Justice Department, even though the investigation was launched, of course, under Donald Trump, Donald Trump's Justice Department. And so, you know, from his point of view, he's playing his hand to try to benefit himself politically, and I'm not so sure he won't. I mean, I wish I could tell you. After the last few months, I would have said once upon a time, oh, my God, he's in deep trouble. You look, after January 6th, I thought things would change. Things have gotten worse in the Republican Party. Things have gotten worse in the MAGA movement. Conservatives who a year ago even were kind of, let's just get through Trump. But I mean, after this, no more of that. Now it's all excuses for Trump, excuses for Kevin McCarthy. And look at Elise Stefanik, someone who started out as a reasonable person and is now she. This is amazing. I should take a second on this. January 6th, she did not vote to overturn the electors from Arizona. Even she thought that was nuts, right? She voted to overturn the electors from Pennsylvania. Now she's on Steve Bannon's show, a guy who himself was indicted and pardoned by Donald Trump as a grifter and a total sycophant to authoritarians all over the world, an aide to them. And she's on Bannon's show, and she supports this ludicrous Arizona recount. I mean, the degeneration of the party is really astonishing, and Gates fits right in.
Yeah, and as you remind us, there's a larger stakes here than any individual case or one's views on DOJ reform or any of those more nuanced level. What you're talking about, I know what you care a lot about, is this going to be a governing compact that holds where we respect the outcomes of elections? Because had it been down to just one state or something that was a potentially debatable thing in court, I mean, the Supreme Court, which is full of Republican appointees, didn't ever even hear it. It wasn't that they rejected it. They didn't even hear it. There was nothing colorable there. But what happens with a strong man or woman type authoritarian leader if they're embedded with the Republican Party and it is close and they say we're not following the court and we are going to seize the military? I mean, this was as close as you can get without it being worse. And we know how bad it was on January 6th. So I appreciate the larger context. That's what we expect for you, Bill, because as I mentioned, and I say this because I know Bill, at the end of the day, all he is and all he ever stood for and all he'll be remembered by is his relationship with Donald Trump. I'm kidding, Bill.
That's okay. Yeah, it's okay. I can take it. Thanks, Ari.
Always good to have you. Bill Kristol, thank you very much.
Fat Joe. That means more. Fat Joe means more to me than Donald Trump, you know?
Hey, you know, at least you have that card in your back pocket. Well played. Our thanks to Bill. I'm going to fit in a break. Smart guy, good sport. We appreciate it. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.